How you doing? And welcome to Neither Real Music. I'm Ed. This is Just Play It, the series dedicated to learning songs and experimenting with them, trying out different things so that we can learn songs in a new and exciting way. If you've been following along, we have been working on In the Wee Small Hours of the Morning by David Mann and Bob Hilliard. This song was made famous by Frank Sinatra. In this video, we're going to be looking at measures 13 through 16. There are some really interesting chord changes here, so expect something new. Before we get started, please remember to subscribe and ring the bell so that you know when your next lesson is coming. So let's dive right in. Our first chord in this is something that you should recognize. It's our D minor 7 chord. D, F, and C. The new chord is going to be our D sharp diminished 7. We're going to have our D sharp on our 6th fret of our 5th string. We're going to use an F sharp on our 4th fret of our 4th string. And we're going to keep our note C, which was on our 5th fret of our 3rd string. So D sharp, F sharp, and C. We play those all together. Our next chord is an E minor 7 chord. This is also a chord that you've seen before. So we have our E on our 7th fret of our 5th string, our G on our 5th fret of our 4th string, and our D on our 7th fret of our 3rd string. E, G, D. As I've mentioned in previous videos, these chords are movable. So if you understand that D minor 7 is this shape, E minor 7 would be the same thing 2 frets forward. Our next chord is going to be an A7 chord. We're going to be moving up to our 6th string. A is our 5th fret of our 6th string. To C sharp, 4th fret of our 5th string. And G is on our 5th fret of our 4th string. So let's take a look at those 4 chords. We have D minor 7, D sharp diminished 7, E minor 7, to A7. This idea creates a really nice chromatic motion with our bass notes. And a really nice 5th motion on our last chord. Let's take a look at that one last time. D minor 7, D sharp diminished 7, E minor 7, to A7. As we continue through this idea, we're going to come to what is called our first ending. This is going to be the first time that we create an ending, and then we're going to end up going back to the beginning of the song. So we'll have a lot of things that you've already seen, and we'll be replaying them. We're going to go back to our D minor 7, and then to a G7. Once again, if you know where A7 is, G7 is 2 frets behind it. So these chords become movable. That's what makes them so functional. After our G7, we're going to do a C6, which is something that we did in the beginning. And these next 2 chords are very familiar, but they're done a little bit quicker, and it creates our turnaround. A turnaround are a set of chords used to get us back to another section of the song, usually the beginning. So we'll have our D minor 7 again, and G7. So those last 4 chords are D minor 7, G7, C6. That should make the song feel like it wants to end. Now we get a turnaround. If we put all those chords together, they sound like this. D minor 7, D sharp diminished 7, E minor 7, A7, D minor 7, G7, C6, turnaround, D minor 7, G7. So that D sharp diminished 7 is really the only new chord in this series, but it also created one of the most interesting changes, giving us that chromatic line. So let's try this out with a little bit of time and a tab, and that will be it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's take a look at that with a tab. 1, 2, 3, 4. As you become more proficient in ideas like this, you could start to mess around with your timing, how it's being played, and come up with more interesting, unique ideas. The way that it's being played, there's a slight pause between each one of the chords. This could be useful, especially if you have a solo person, a person like a sax player or another guitar player, or even when the vocal line is going on, because now the vocal line is filling in the space in between the chords. But as a guitar player, some of these options are available to you. As I mentioned in the previous video, if we use the bass note idea to play on beat 1 and then fill the rest of the chord in on beat 2, this will give us a really interesting way to connect our notes together, also providing a slightly smoother idea when playing the chords from one to the other. So as an example, I'll show you right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try that one more time so you can kind of get a feel for it. All I'm doing is playing the root note on beat 1 and then the rest of the chord on beat 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. As you can see, the last two chords of that sequence, I'm just playing the chord itself. I can't really fill in too much because I only have one beat to work with. Doing the root note and then the rest of the chord provides an opportunity to kind of smooth the change from one chord to another. It also lets your ear hear two completely different things happening. So this is just a really good way to start practicing this type of chord change, taking rhythm and applying it to the pattern. This is what I mean by a chord implication. I'm playing the root note first and establishing the change, then playing the rest of the chord to establish the chord in a person's ear. You can make this as interesting as you want to, because the amount of ways that you could break the chord down in time is limited only by practice and your ability to figure something out. If you enjoy lessons like this, please subscribe, as I mentioned, and ring the bell so you know when your next lesson comes. I would like to grow this channel, and each subscription helps tremendously. If you'd like to know more, I will be putting stuff up on Patreon, going into a lot more depth with some of these concepts. If If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. I enjoy compliments, but questions let me know you're working on this stuff. Good luck and good practice.